I see your wife's got a good spot next to Bowie.
Oh, I know. Sometimes Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Thomas Lombardi from Vanity Crash. Welcome to the Bot Stop. David Bowie in Cleveland. You made it. So good to see so many friends here. And you know what? For a night like tonight, for you all to come out, and for you all to come out at once, okay? Because we're sold out here. We don't have a single seat left, so thank you so much. We're so excited. We've been at this for 10 years. This is our 10th annual show on David Bowie here at the BOP Stop. Every show is different. Yeah, that's something. Every show is on a different theme. Every show is of a different era of Bowie's life. And this one, we've never really focused on this particular niche, which is maybe the most important gig, I'm going to say this, the most important gig that David Bowie did in his career. Because if it didn't go well here, he may not have had a career in the United States, okay? And it didn't go well for a lot of those folks that came over from England, and they were number one in little old Great Britain, and they couldn't make it in the United States. But because of some people sitting in the room here tonight, which we're going to introduce you to, and you're going to see some interviews tonight, because of those people, David Bowie came here for his first gig ever in the United States because he needed it to be a success. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. So thank you for joining with us. We're going to wait a couple more minutes and let a few more people come in, and we'll get started right away. Thank you so much.
I screwed up because I had right? So the two of us are on the right side of the street. So I screwed up there. And also I had the camera sitting in front of the car. So when he was in the car, he was trying to focus. But when he put a violin, he didn't really love it. So now it's going to be that.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. So excited to have you here. We're going to get started because we have an exciting show, and we got a lot of live music, as you can tell. We brought every piece of equipment we owned, and we bought a bunch more for tonight, so yeah, it's going to get loud. Yeah, this is one of the few rock and roll gigs that the BOP Stop welcomes, let me put it that way. We've been here for 10 years now doing the David Bowie show this week because of his birth and his death anniversaries. And it doesn't seem like 10 years, but it's been a fun trip. And so let's get started. Tomorrow we're going to be down in Akron at Jilly's Music Room. I don't know if you've been there or if you have friends down there, but boy, oh boy, what a great venue. Seated like this, great sight lines, great kitchen. We are not sold out for that one, so pass the word. And then Sunday, we're at the Beachland Tavern, and of course, legendary, and we're excited about that one. Still a few tickets left for that one as well. Let's go ahead and, while we're listening to some of these rehearsal tapes and rare tapes, you're going to hear a lot of interesting versions of stuff tonight. How many people have a birthday in January? Yeah? And how about December? All right, so let's sing to David Bowie, whose birthday was when? Wednesday, January 8th. Who else's birthday is on that day? See, I thought they were going to start forgetting about Elvis, but apparently he's a pretty big deal. Let's sing it. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday David Bowie. Everybody who has a birthday in January or December, happy birthday to you. Check this out. Thank you. He would have been 78. He died in 2016. He was 69 years old, liver cancer. He smoked almost his whole life.
Happy birthday. This is Uncle Dave saying happy birthday to you all, whenever your birthday is. If you keep this tape and play it every day, one day it'll be your birthday.
I swear. What is it with? He's got such a sense of humor. How many of you were there on September 22nd, 1972 at Music Hall for David Bowie's first U.S. appearance? I was not there. I was much too young, actually. But this would have been the ticket if you had it, if you were there at the show. But some other people were very instrumental in promoting David Bowie, in making him successful, and some of those folks are in the room. First one I'd like to introduce is Billy Bass. I think he's sitting right over here. He's got the cap on. Billy, take it away. Legendary disc jockey from WMS. He's program director, and he picked up on early. And
This is Saturday night. Usually, this is Martin Pro show. Martin will be here next Saturday. Okay, this is Cat Stevens.
Billy Bass right there. Yeah.
Stevens did a little incredible song too for the Tolman. Jesus is just alright. Of course, this is Birds too. This is Billy Unanimous.
What a voice. No wonder we followed him everywhere. Yeah. Also in the room tonight, Denny Sanders. Denny Sanders, disc jockey from WMS. Raise your hand. We are going to hear from both of these young men a little bit later in the show because we did some interviews with them. We're going to keep that for posterity. And you won't believe the story they tell about how it all rolled out. How they picked up on David Bowie and promoted the heck out of it. And we are all the beneficiaries. We're also going to hear from David Bowie's drummer, Woody Woodmansey. Talked to him in an interview a couple years ago. He remembers Cleveland, believe me, even though they did hundreds of gigs together. He remembers Cleveland. Why? It was the first gig ever in the United States for this young man. Can you imagine coming over here and what that felt like? So we're going to hear from Woody Woodmansey. We're also, and here, look at this. He wrote in his book, the tour opened at Cleveland Music Hall, 22 September. The venue held 3,000, and it sold out in 2 days thanks to Denny Sanders, musical director, and Billy Bass, program director at WMMS Radio. This is in his book, who had played Hunky Dory and Ziggy Stardust tracks repeatedly, introducing the area to our music and creating an enthusiastic fan base that still exists to this day, by the way. We were all ready to talk to the town by the time we got to Cleveland. Yeah. We're also going to hear from this guy, Mike Garson, okay? Because he started playing piano with David Bowie 2 days before the gig in Cleveland. Think about that. He had to learn about 10 of the 18 songs in their set. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that because he replaced some pretty steep players there. But we're going to hear from, also, we're missing Mick Ronson, of course. He died in 1991, also liver cancer. So we don't have a chance to talk to him. But I did speak with his biographers, Gary Burnett and Rupert Creed, from Hull, England. You'll love their accents, okay, because that's where the Spiders from Mars came from. Woody and Trevor Boulder on bass and Mick Ronson all came from Hull in northern England. Not a normal thing to come down and hook up with an artist like David Bowie in London, but that's what they did. And these guys put on a show every year. They put a book out, and they know everything about Mick Ronson. We're going to hear from them a little later as well. I want to introduce you also to Anastasia Pantsios. She's got a camera in her hand. As always, she was at the first show. You'll see her photos like this all the way through the evening, and we also invite you to go over, and she has a display of some of her original prints. And you can pick these up and take them home. And they're rare. These are not like available online or whatever. So talk to Anastasia, congratulate her, and pick up some of her prints. We've got some live music for you tonight, and we will have different artists tomorrow as well, and Sunday. Tonight, we're excited to have Megan Stepka and Kate Hart from Moon Echo Garden. In the room, I think they're chilling in the green room right now, but wait till you hear what they have planned. So ethereal. Amazing. Tomorrow night, Chrissy Strong will join us down in Akron at Jilly's Music Room, and on Sunday, special guest Allie Garrigan, who was in a number of bands, Nameless Desire, Rubberheads. She played with our own Dennis Van Crash from Vanity Crash in Q Up, just before this band, which still has fans to this day, and we even do some of the Q Up songs. And also, we are your musical hosts. You remind me of someone say hello to Vanity Crash. But first, I want to introduce you to a young lady from Akron, Ohio, who was friends with another young lady from her high school. In fact, they went to elementary school together, by the name of Chrissy Hynde. Are you familiar? She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with a band of Pretenders, okay? I'm not even going to set this up, but to say Susan was a musician. She was in the Poor Girls when she was in high school. They were opening for Herman's Hermits and The Who in high school. All-girl band, played their own instruments. She was a real pioneer. Remember that show we did last year, Our Day Will Come, Women Rockers in Northeast Ohio? How many of you were at this show? Yeah? Well, you missed it, most of you apparently, because and we looked at people like Tracy Chapman and Chrissy Hynde and a whole bunch going back into the 50s. And Sue Schmidt started with her friend Debbie Smith in the Poor Girls. And then they worked with the legendary Peter Lochner. Are you familiar? Punk pioneer Peter Lochner in Cinderella's Revenge. And then they formed Chai Pig, which, if you knew punk rock in this region, they were massive. She's now a professor of history in New York. Listen to this story she tells of David Bowie.
Summer of 1972, we started playing again with a number of other people. You know, we were hanging out with our friend Chris Hynde. At one point, I remember Chris and Debbie and I getting up in front of this warehouse and singing The Duke of Earl. Chris was Gene Chandler and Deb and I did the backup. Chris Hynde, who described how she and I went to Cleveland to hear Bowie's sound check. This was for the first gig in September of 1972. I don't remember how we knew about this, but I remember this was the first time ever that Chris got her parents' car, because usually they would not let her drive, and it was one of us who had to drive. Anyway, she had the car, and I went with her, and we stood outside the music hall listening to the sound check. When they were done, their roadie came out, and he asked us if we wanted to go back to the hotel, you know, and meet with them. And then at some point, she remembers driving them up to Captain Frank's for dinner. But the next night when we were at the gig, I remember being at the gig. They played. It was just amazing. Went back to the after party, and I was so taken by Mick Ronson that I got down on one knee and proposed to him. And he was such a sweetheart. I think he sort of took me seriously, and then realized, of course, this is a joke. But we kind of connected. And next night I got a phone call, and it's him, and he's calling me from Memphis or someplace in the South, their next gig, and he says, "Susan, would you like to come to New York?" And I was like, whoa, I don't know, I don't really do that, Anyway, he puts Bowie on the phone. Bowie says, "Susan, Mick really wants you to come to New York." So anyway, I acquiesced, and I went to New York, and I stayed at the Plaza Hotel, and went to the gig at Carnegie Hall, September 1972. And I just recently saw a poster for that. That was really quite an experience, because after the gig, and there is a picture of me with Mick, which is at the Plaza Hotel, in this after party, and it was just the people that were like, Wayne County was there, and Cherry Vanilla, and all these hangers-on, and Lee Black Childers, and all these people. I didn't know who these people were. I mean, I'm just still, I'm just maybe in a rock band, but I'm still from Ohio, and I don't know who all these people are. But I just sat on that couch all night and watched, just watched this thing evolve, and it was really quite extraordinary. This is like rock stars,
Let's hear it for Sue Schmidt.
And even Chrissy writes about this. She says, "For me, it was the biggest moment of my life." Okay, listen to this. We went up there, and afterwards we drove into a restaurant. It was a major, major day in my life. So you can see how these artistic moments last for a lifetime, okay? And this was one of those moments. It really lit up this entire region here. I don't know if you've seen this version of Space Oddity that David Bowie did when he won the Ivor Novello Award. They give it out every year. He won for Most Original Song, and he's playing this in 1970.
Ground control to Major Tom.
I love the orchestra. They even using the stylophone.
ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on.
Now, let's talk about Space Oddity, because it was released in 1969, and in fact, it was pre-released in this video, this little film that David Bowie did. His manager paid for a promotional film of 6 or 7 or 8 of him, songs of him performing 30 minutes, and they did this really interesting version. I mean, it's cheesy as hell, but I love it.
Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on.
This cardboard helmet. So, this is the original sleeve for the original single that came out in June of '69. But besides hooking up with the Space Liftoff, which it got some airplay, but it was basically a novelty, and we really didn't hear much about it in '69 in America. If you remember this song, you remember it because they re-released it with this cover. Now look, it's now he's in the Ziggy Stardust era. This is '72. So that's how it works, right? It's a great song. They released it like 3 years later. This is the one that we heard if we were listening to this song back in the day. And if I had to pick one person who was probably responsible for David Bowie being comfortable coming to Cleveland as his first gig, because he wanted to come here before New York, which he did as his third gig, but he needed a place to come that was friendly, where he knew people. It's this guy, Brian Kinchy. He also went by Brian Sands. He's a musician, but he started the very first International David Bowie Society fan club in 1969, based on Space Oddity. He found it in a cutout bin, he looked him up, he did research, and then he got in touch with Mercury Records in Chicago. They started giving him, like 45s, because nobody knew David Bowie in '69. They'd give him photos. In fact, they gave him a negative that he could print his own photos and mail them out to the fan club. I mean, he was typing out the addresses in little envelopes. This is how it went back then. He had a few dozen, maybe up to 200 people in the fan club at one time.
Rest in peace, Brian.
Rest in peace, Brian. He passed in 2018. I never had a chance to talk with him, but he was ahead of the curve. And he kind of got out early, too, because by '73 he had moved on. Once Bowie hit Ziggy Stardust, you know how it is when your favorite niche artist all of a sudden goes mainstream and you're no longer interested, right? That's what happened with Brian. But then he contacts Barbara Falk at RCA, because Bowie had switched labels from Mercury to RCA. And they were getting ready to put Ziggy Stardust out. She gets in touch with David Bowie in England. And I can just imagine how this goes. Brian Kinchy is at home. His mother says, Brian, there's this guy David on the phone from England. He literally called Brian Kinchy out of the blue. And what did he say to him? I don't know. It was probably like, Cleveland. Where's Cleveland? Like, he wouldn't have known, right? So he knows he's got a friend. He knows he's got Brian Sands in Cleveland. And that's one of the big reasons they felt comfortable coming. Let's examine this week in September '72, because it's pretty remarkable. David Bowie was in the middle of the Ziggy Stardust tour. They had done 58 stops in England, starting in January of '72. By the way, the first gig of the Ziggy Stardust tour had fewer people in it than we have in this room here tonight. Okay? By the end of it, he was on the cover of Rolling Stone. He was playing Carnegie Hall. Okay? But at the beginning, he was a nobody. He would not fly because in the summer of '72, they went to Cyprus, him and his wife, and Trevor and Woody. And on the way back, they were in a smallish plane. It got hit by lightning on both wings, and it was going down. They were saying their prayers. And when it pulled out and they landed safely, he swore he would never fly again, and he didn't for about 5-6 years. So he takes the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth, over from England, okay, with his friend George Underwood and his wife Bridget. Now you all know George Underwood, right? Because he was David Bowie's lifetime friend. He was the guy, when they were kids, who punched David Bowie in the eye when they were fighting over the girl, and he had a ring and it froze his pupil. It's called anoscoria. That's why he looks like he has two different colored eyes. They're not different colors. His pupil's frozen, it won't open or close. That's George Underwood, and guess what? They stayed lifelong friends after that. I think it's a great story. Not only that, he was in 3 or 4 bands with David Bowie in the early days, and that wasn't really what he did. What he really was a graphic designer, and he designed a few album covers that you might have recognized. Honestly, Hunky Dory, Ziggy Stardust, Mott the Hoople, All the Young Dudes. These are all the work of George Underwood. So, Monday, they don't have a pianist. We talked earlier. What happened? He went through 3 or 4 pianists. He didn't like any of them except one. Who do you think it was? Rick Wakeman. And he offered him the job. And he said, Rick, I'm going on tour. Come with me. You'll get a steady salary. And Rick said, sure, I take it. This is a Friday. And Bowie said, think about it over the weekend. Next day he gets a call. You want to join the band? Yes. And he ended up joining Yes. Now, I think it's a great move for him because look what his career did, right? He ended up putting out a lot of solo albums. He had a fabulous career. He would have been David Bowie's sideman his whole life. So he made that move. So they were looking for a pianist. He wanted Annette Peacock, who was a jazz pianist. She didn't know who Bowie was, wasn't interested. She said, talk to this kid, Mike Garson. He's a jazz pianist. And Mike is going to tell the story of how this audition went. So they audition Mike, and he immediately gets the job. That's Monday. Tuesday, they go see these guys at the Mercer Arts Center, the New York Dolls. Anybody a fan? Well, Bowie was as well. And it really wasn't even so much the New York Dolls as it was this young lady who was hanging out with the drummer, Billy Murcia. And her name was Serinda Fox. And we have this photo here of her with David Johansen, but she was going out with Billy Murcia. You know that line, demanding Billy Dolls and other friends of mine from Time on Aladdin Sane? Billy went on tour a month later in October to England, took some barbiturates, his friends put him in a bathtub, ran the water, and he drowned. 21 years old. Meanwhile, this was back in September, Serinda Fox meets David Bowie, totally jumped ship. I should say jumps bus, because they were taking a bus from New York to Cleveland. And she's on the bus. And Bowie's in love with her, so is his wife Angie. The three of them had a very open marriage. It worked for a while. And he ends up in about a month later, this is a still from the Jean Genie video that they shot, and she's a star of that. Thursday, they take the bus to Cleveland, do a 7-hour rehearsal in this amazing music hall. Look at that, how beautiful. And what I love about this is if you look closely under the curtain, they have it lifted so you can see in the public hall. You know how that worked? Where music halls got the same stage, and public hall's over here. Music hall, 3,000 seats. Public hall, 10,000 seats. And Bowie's manager, Tony DeFries, when they sold out music hall, he's standing on the stage for this show that we're talking about tonight. And he points to Polly and says, when we come back, we're playing that hall. And they did come back 2 months later, and they sold it out 2 nights in a row. They went from 3,000 seats to 20,000 seats in the span of 2 months. So that was Thursday, and Friday is the gig. And another Anastasia Pancios photo from that very first U.S. concert right here in Cleveland. Let's let Mick Ronson tell the story.
Has anything really picked up in Cleveland, Ohio? Cleveland, Ohio is a great city for rock and roll.
Day when we went to Cleveland, we went by bus. We thought that was the thing to do. We rented this bus. We were staying at the Plaza Hotel because, again, that was part of Tony's philosophy. To be a star, you had to act like a star. Where does a star stay? Not the Holiday Inn, the Plaza Hotel. There's a fountain right there next to the bus. That's Plaza in front of the fountain. And this bag lady comes along, She goes to the fountain, she pulls down her pants, hikes up her skirt, squats down, and takes a big shit in the fountain. And that was the Ziggy Stardust tour. We were off to Cleveland. I said to Tony DeFries, Tony, what does the road manager do? He said, oh, see, just make sure they find Cleveland. We got there.
The spirits were great, the band was great, the playing was great, David was in rare form.
That's Mike Garson right there, the pianist. His first gig ever with David Bowie right here in Cleveland. So not only WMMS was into it, but the Cleveland Press was also on board. They wrote this article. John Sipple said he's not the first male performer to appear on stage in feminine garb, but his thing is not the violent anti-sexual sham of his contemporary Alice Cooper. He was always getting compared to Alice Cooper for whatever reason. What I think is interesting about this ad is it's wrapped around this ad for Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange. Now, you hear this music, of course. This is Walter Carlos. And this is the soundtrack to A Clockwork Orange, done on the Moog synthesizer, one of the very first Moog synthesizers, and I think the largest selling classical music album of all time, honestly. Bowie used this very song, Beethoven's Ode to Joy, as the opening track when they did a concert throughout the Ziggy Stardust tour. I think, and also, what other Stanley Kubrick film do you think David Bowie was influenced by? 2001, Space Odyssey, hello, right? He wrote a Space Oddity. Here, to the best of my knowledge, is the set list for that first gig, and I believe this is film from the very first show. It's either from this one or from the November show 2 months later, but let's assume it's from this one. And if you can see the set list, we know Woody said they played Lady Stardust at the show in Cleveland. They rarely played that one. And then we heard from people from Jim Gerard from the Scene magazine who said he played The Man Who Sold the World, and This Boy, the Beatles song, kind of rare, and he always ended the show with Around and Around, which is the Chuck Berry song, which almost made it on the Ziggy Stardust album, by the way, until he wrote the very last song for that album, which was Starman, and it bumped Around and Around off. So let's talk about Brian Sands, because he was at this show, and he was able to secure 8 comps for his fan club, which is pretty cool. Not only that, he's sitting right next door to David Bowie's manager, Tony DeFries. And he's giving Tony notes. This kid from Cleveland is telling him, you know, the transition there between those two songs, can you tighten that up a little bit? I think the lighting is a little dim here, you know, can you know, literally giving him notes. He notices Angela in the room, Angie Bowie, goes over, she screams, oh, David wants to meet you. She introduces him, they start talking. Look at this photo at the after party at the Holland Inn House. By the way, shot by Sheila Rock. You all know Mick Rock? He's a rock and roll photographer. Did the cover of Lou Reed Transformer. Yeah? This is his wife, Sheila. She shot this. Look at how intently David Bowie is listening to Brian Sands. Brian is giving David Bowie notes. Is that amazing? That he would come here and then be so interested to talk to somebody who has a fan club. He quizzed Brian, and Brian knew more about David Bowie than his own band did, than the Spiders from Mars. They'd only been with him for a couple years, and Brian knew more than them. This is incredible. And then he gets this nice thank you note from David Bowie. Thanks to all our people for making Ziggy, I Love You, Bowie. And then, like I said, he kind of moved on. He started working to promote Mark Bolan and T-Rex. And here he is, yeah, exactly. I mean, he had good taste, and he was a great musician himself. I believe this is at a radio station in Cleveland. It might have been WMMS. It's hard to tell. They all kind of had records that looked like that. Brian Sands, a musician. Is Denny Carlton with us tonight? Denny, did you make it? We were holding the ticket for Denny. Denny, by the way, played with Brian Sands in 2 bands, Moses and Milk. And Denny Carlton, of course, was in the Lost Souls. He was in the Choir. What an amazing group. And he was in the Pagans as well. This song, Brian Sands wrote Dialogue in Limbo. He calls it a personal tribute to the mood of the man who sold the world and Space Oddity. So thank you, Brian Sands. Let's give him a little round of applause. He had a lot to do with why David Bowie came here. There was a review afterwards, Jim Gerard. When the initial "He's What's Happening" crap passes, Bowie won't fade away into nothing because he's a star. And when the papers stop writing about him as an Anthony Newley protege and the rest hope he'll return to being a Lou Reed legend, Bowie will be pounding it out. He wears his image well. He's a liberated dude with an infinite amount of foresight. Outrageous. Cleveland picked up on it. They gave him good reviews. Jane Scott, the one and only. Can we get around for Jane Scott? He sailed over. He won't fly, his wife said. Orange-haired Bowie, one of the most important figures of the 70s rock. He seemed a little awkward at an earlier press conference, but after his smash show, he eluded his security guards and was eager to talk about coming shows. We reporters sensed that a star was born that night. And she was right. She could tell. Jane was right. She usually was. How many of you saw David Bowie at some time in Cleveland throughout his career while he was alive? Let's hear some applause for this. How many of you were at a show of David Bowie's? Okay. So, as I said, came back 2 months later in November to Public Hall. He did the Diamond Dogs tour in '74. He came with Iggy Pop when he was at the height of his fame, and he went to the Agora. Anybody see that show? At the Agora? Yeah, I missed that one. I heard it was good. He was here for Serious Moonlight, Sound and Vision, and then he came with Tin Machine. Tin Machine was not as popular as David Bowie as a solo act. Back at the Agora, anyone see that show? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I like the band. How about the Blossom Show with 9 Inch Nails? The Self-Destruct Outside, was that an amazing show? Opened up with Prick, who was Trent Reznor's protege and band member from back in the day. And then his final show at the CSU Convocation Center was an amazing show. Greatest Hits 2004. We were lucky to see him. We have some photos from some of these. Anastasia, look at these amazing photos. Would you just give her a round of applause? These are some of the best photos of David Bowie ever. And again, she's right over here. Please talk to her. This is interesting. On the bus, when they leave Cleveland, they're headed to Memphis. They're listening to the Yardbirds version of I'm a Man. And you'll see Jimmy Page here, okay? What does that sound like? The Genie. Yeah. So here's what they were doing. They were singing, we're going bus, bus, bussin', we're going bus, bus, bussin'. Because they were bored. And Bowie and Mick Ronson decided to turn this into a song, which they did. And they recorded it in New York just literally a couple of weeks after this bus ride from Cleveland to Memphis. So we can claim a little something on the Genie as well. Because he was inspired by Cleveland, he was inspired by the United States. You know, remember, this is the land of their dreams in England. No, it was. I mean, all their best favorite music, the fashion, you know, it's so much different than it is now. And how about this one? I just want you to hear this version of Driving Saturday. This was recorded live in November of '72 in Cleveland.
It's hot, let's go to bed. Don't forget to turn on the light. Don't laugh, babe, it'll be alright.
Wow. I think this is the best version of this song ever. And it was a bootleg. Someone recorded this on a cassette and they licensed, Bowie's estate licensed this bootleg and eventually released it. And you know, he put cities next to the song titles for this album, Aladdin Sane. Of course, Panic in Detroit was Detroit. Crack Actor, of course, was Los Angeles. This one, Driving Saturday, he wrote between Phoenix and Seattle. And to give you an idea, I looked up the census in 1970. Phoenix had 582,000 people, Seattle had 531, Cleveland had 751,000 people. population in 1970. We have about half that now. But Cleveland was a major force in the early 70s. And when Denny Sanders and Billy Bass were on the radio, when WMMS was promoting this stuff, this was a big market. This was the center of the rock and roll universe. Give yourselves a hand, people. That's what this is all about. In the meantime, between the two shows in Cleveland, September and November, Bowie lands on the cover of Rolling Stone, November 9th. That doesn't hurt, does it? And then he brings Jeff Beck on stage at the end of the Ziggy Stardust tour in '73 for the farewell tour. That must have been interesting. Hey Jeff, we stole your riff from the Yardbirds and turned it into a #2 hit. The Gene, you want to come on stage and play it with us? No, not the one you wrote, the one you played, the one we played. 1974, anyone see this one? Diamond Dogs tour. Some of you have been to all these, it looks like. This was my first show. I was a little disappointed because the Spiders from Mars were not his band. He had a bunch of studio musicians who were fabulous, and I love this music now. But the show was incredible, wasn't it? With the sets and the staging and the arm that came out over the audience so he could sing Space Oddity, and half the time the arm wouldn't come back and he had to crawl, back to the stage. Nothing fazed him. In '76, he came with the Isolog tour, and Janet Makoska can't be with us tonight, but look at these photos. Give her a round of applause as well, because there's so much personality in these shots. And Bowie meets up with Jane Scott again. I think it says, "To Jane, with my best regards." Yeah. How about the Richfield Coliseum? I don't know where we got this tape from. Well, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. We have some fabulous photos from Mike Petrello for this one. Serious Moonlight Tour. Anastasia was at this. She's got some great photos for this. Go over and check it out. Amazing photos. Richfield Coliseum. This is recorded live there. And he's singing Gloria. There's Adrian Ballou.
This was a song written by an Irishman. I get the impression it would sound probably even better if it had an Irishman singing with it. How about Bono?
How about Bono? It's okay. And you can tell this is Cleveland, because listen to Bono when he sings this.
But Cleveland always makes me feel alright.
Let's pander to the audience. Sure. It always works. Some wonderful photos from Anastasia from this show as well, and Jane Scott again with David Bowie. They all looked her up when they came to town. So what do you think? Is it time for some live music? You guys ready to rock and roll? Thank you so much. Let's bring out Meg Stepka and King Hart from Moon Echo Garden. David, can I unplug this audio? Hey, man.
Yeah, it's good. Good. Hey, we're good.
Thank you for coming. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Stars look very different.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome They will be performing in this very room next Wednesday, the 10 by 3. Check it out.
Well, I'm going to give Denny Sanders a credit for bringing David Bowie to my attention. WMMS at the time, as program director, I was really worried that we were moving into a different direction, one that I was not comfortable with. All of a sudden, all these bands out of the South, the Leonard Skinner band and Marshall Tucker band, and it's just one after another. And every single one of them had a Confederate flag in the back, and there was no way I was playing that. I don't care how good the music was, I wasn't going to play it.
You have to remember what was big on the air in those days just before Hunky Dory. Number one was Southern Rock, which was like the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker band, Blackfoot, all of these people.
And so that was a deal, because we had to play the current stuff. And everything that we were playing, our staple, was getting older and older, long in the tooth. We couldn't just be a hippie radio station anymore. We had to move on.
Chuck Demerick was the RCA representative in those days, and he came in with a record that had, I remember, a green label with nothing on it, just a blank green label. And he said, I want you to listen to this. All right, so put it on the turntable. First song was Changes. So this is real good.
Still don't know what I was waiting for. Time's running wild. A million dead streets. Every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet.
And I said, all right, who is this? And he says, David Bowie. And I went to Billy, his program director, and I said, you've got to listen to this. And he did. And he said, oh, this is terrific.
And Denny Sanders brought Hunky Dory to me and said, well, take a listen to this. I think you might like this.
Oh, you pretty things. Don't you know we drive when your mom mentions my best and say, oh, there's a taste in my mouth.
Well, not only did I like it, I fell in love with it. I thought, this is everything that we need. This is rock and roll. This is artistry. It's hip. It's acoustic. It's the perfect segue from what we were doing to where we want to go. This is it.
And so he mobilized the elements of the radio station to make sure that David Bowie was regularly played the Hunky Dory album. And people always say to me, well, who broke David Bowie? Was it you or Billy Best? Here's my take on it. If it was a football game, I had the ball, I threw it to Billy, and he made the touchdown. You have to remember, the Bowie album, Hunky Dory, was a flop in the United States. It did not sell, except in Cleveland.
But luckily, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust came out just at the right time when everything came together. The Belkins were bringing them in to do their first show in Cleveland. We were banging the record like it was the only record that ever was released in the history of the world. Record Revolution and Disc Records, they were all stocking it. Everything, all the stars lined up. And David came in and closed the deal. That show was just so freaking amazing. It was at the Music Hall in Cleveland, the first show. 3,000 people just went crazy. And from that moment, I'm pretty sure that the Belkins, after seeing how quickly that show sold out, they booked them to bring them back in 2 months later and did Public Hall twice, sold it out twice. So now all of the United States of America was watching what Cleveland was doing with this new act.
There was a little sheet called Walrus, and a lot of FM stations would post some of the stuff that they were break.
So it was WNEW in New York, KMET in Los Angeles, KSAN in San Francisco.
And then there were a handful of stations, we were one of them, that would list some of these acts that nobody ever heard of.
And every week we would put in our top 10 records. David Sparrow, who was our correspondent, he wrote David Bowie, David Bowie, David Bowie, David Bowie, all 10 records, David Bowie records.
And once we started to gain a reputation, we would find the next issue of Walrus or the issue after that, suddenly people from other stations are starting to play some of the material that we broke. So we were a leadership station. Yeah. And we were for many years.
So the rest of the world caught on. When I heard Changes, I was 30 years old. Now, back in 1970, when you're 30 years old, you're old. Look at you rock and roll. Yeah, pretty soon now you're going to get a little older. Well, yeah, here I am, a little older. Everybody's younger than me by years. And I said, that guy is writing a song aimed directly at me. We played Hunky Dory a lot, and there was great rock and roll songs on that album.
Life on Mars, which blew me away completely, one of my all-time favorites. That was just the emotion and the chord changes, and what a composer, and what an arranger. The arrangement of the song was terrific, the composition was wonderful, just everything about it was just magnificent.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Danny Sanders, who's here with us tonight, and Mr. Billy Bass, and everyone else. Thank you. So glad you could be with us here. Please welcome back to the stage Megan Stepka and Kate Hall.
Do a quick check. Maybe a tiny bit more, just a tiny bit.
And this one? Yeah? Got this one live? Cool. Could potentially use a tiny bit more of this one too. Thanks. Yeah, we'd love to share a little duo version of Life on Mars with you guys. When they say the chord changes, they're not kidding.
Yeah, at least 8 chords per section of the song. A lot of flats, a lot of sevenths, a lot of augmented chords.
And diminished. We get augmented and diminished
And
in one
diminished.
song. And so, yeah, this song really intimidated us when we first started to try to learn it, and we've completely fallen in love with it over the course of learning it, and yeah, why is it so beautiful? We can't explain it, but it is.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mommy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view, and she's hooked on the silver screen, but the film is a saddening bore, 'cause she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools as they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the lawman beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know. He's in the best-selling show. Heaven's on sale again. See the mice and their million horns from Ibiza to the Norfolk Broads. Rule Britannia's out of bounds. For my mother, my dog and clowns. But the film is a sad one, boy, 'cause I wrote it 10 times or more. It's about to be read again. As I ask you to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the lawman beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, I wonder if you'll ever know. He's in the best-selling show. Is it life on Mars?
Darren, could you do me a favor and turn up the house lights?
So we're
gonna take a picture. We want a picture of you guys. We've had you guys are such a nice crowd. You're really cute.
Keep the lights down.
Yeah, there we go. Super. All right, you guys.
Come on, guys. We'll get
Down a step.
down on a knee. You guys want to go down a step or
Whatever you want. I can get it.
Well, we want to get the people.
Whatever you need from us.
All right, everybody put their hands up. There you go. All right. Get a couple of those. Come on, Julie. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, everybody. All right, you can take the house lights down. Thank you very much for doing that. You know, it's not every show that we have a sold-out show. I think the last one we did was at the Gun. Oh, wait a minute, that was a dream. A very good dream.
Here we give one more round of applause for Megan Stepka and Kate Hart. That was amazing. Wow. You know, we really don't know when we invite people. Half the time we don't know what's going to happen in these shows. Honestly, we do new shows all the time, and we pull all this stuff together. And sometimes just to see it roll out like that, wow, that blew my mind. Vanity Crash has been working on some new material, so we're going to do a few, and then we're going to hear from Mick Ronson and his biographers with a further iteration of the same story, so stick around for that.
All right, you have to be patient with my guitar because back there it's kind of cold, and it's a little warmer here, so it's changing. Changes.
Oh, you did that on purpose. $5 to who's can guess what's in Dennis's cup.
Let's do it.
Oh. much. Yes.
Well, he said in an interview at one point that he kept getting into trouble with his music teacher at school because basically he was playing the violin like a guitar. You know, he was plucking it sideways rather than, you know, underneath his chin. The sort of orchestration skills that he learnt as a result of being with Bowie, because it was 1970, I think, or 71. So down in London, you got David Bowie composing on his piano in the grand setting of Haddon Hall. And in Hull, in this tiny little 2-up, 2-down council estate, you've got Mick practicing on his piano that his mum had bought for him. And between them, but Mick worked out all the arrangements, including you and the amazing Life on Mars. Yeah.
There's a life on Mars.
Yeah, they'd formed Hype.
But Man Who Sold the World is clearly heavily influenced by Mick's input. And I think at that point, Bowie had tried to discard this folk background, this troubadour folk background, and write songs that were more in the rock and roll genre. But he needed somebody with a pedigree of rock, making good rock arrangements, and somebody who could perform those live. So when he met Mick, it was that magic moment. It was just really at the time what he needed. So it seems that Bowie was this incredible song creator, but Mick was a brilliant rock arranger. The Genie, Bowie did remember, was it I'm a Man, wasn't it? Basically because Jeff Beck used to play it, and there's this sort of ancestry of it. On the tour bus, they were kind of rapping over it at the top of "We're on the bus, 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 we're on the bus, bus, bus." But it works. But without the guitar riff, it wouldn't work, would it?
All right, let's hear it for Mick Ronson. Now, Dennis, you going to tell the story about this one? Because I love this story.
Sure. One of the iterations of Vanity Crash, I came to the table and I said, I want to do Genie. And I got voted down. So I said, well, fuck that. I wrote my own Genie. So it was a song called Never Coming Up, and that's what we're going to give you.
Yeah.
Where are you now today? Prone on the floor.
like New York to go-go. Everything tastes nice for the green. Oh, yeah. Let me tell ya, get that boy. G.G. lives on his back. G.G. lives in his side. He's outrageous, screams and he falls. G.G. lives in simple-minded, he can't drive his module, he bites on a neon, he sleeps in a capsule. He loves to be loved. He loves to be loved. with rain. Stopping you and stopping him was like stopping trains. You got me in the small. strangely seem too
Thank you. If you like that song and you want to see the show again, if you come on Sunday to the Beachland, Allie Garrigan will sing this song with Dennis the way it was done originally when they were in Q Up. And she is fabulous. So, tell your friends. We are now going to hear from Mike Garson, who is the pianist we talked about, who had the unenviable task of replacing Rick Wakeman. But boy, did he do that. And he had only a couple of days of rehearsal before his very first gig with David Bowie was that very first performance at Music Hall, September 22nd, 1972. We met up with Mike backstage. It's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. We're here backstage with Mike Garson. Welcome to Cleveland. Welcome back to Cleveland, I should say. You want to talk? First of all, congratulations on a great show tonight. You did a great job, and the band was awesome. Yeah.
It was a special show tonight. I have memories of being here in '72.
I want to talk about that because you did an audition in New York, right? For
the Ziggy Stardust.
For Ziggy Stardust.
And our first show was here at the Music Hall.
Right.
It's still there.
The Music Hall's still there, sure. Yeah. What was that like? You sat down and you're with Mick Ronson, right?
Ronson played the introduction to Changes,
right?
Which I never saw before or heard. I played for 7 seconds, and he said you got the gig. So
7 seconds. And then literally the next day, you guys got on the bus, didn't you, and came to Cleveland?
Came to Cleveland,
right?
And it was my first show, and it was shocking to switch from the jazz school clubs to
Yeah. What was that like? So you took the whole first day to rehearse, is that right? Like they took an entire day. How many songs did you have to learn in what? Just a couple days?
I I'm a good reader, and I listen to the music, and I absorbed it. And I didn't play every song because some of the songs were just guitar oriented with Nick Ronson.
Right.
We might have had some more rehearsals than one day. I can't remember, but it was quick. I had to get it together.
Right. But you fit right in? You feel like you fit right in, or did it take you a while?
I fit right in. I fit right in terms of, let's say, my musical abilities. But it was awkward as a jazz musician playing in this with an English rock band as far as I know. But it blended. Leave it to David to have the foresight to know that it would work.
Right. And then you were saying, as soon as the show was over, David also had the foresight to leave immediately because he knew the crowds, and you were just sort of picking up your music and what, you got swamped on stage?
Swamped by hundreds of people. I said, oh my God, this is weird, you know?
Yeah.
This, in the jazz world, there's no fans. They just sit intellectually absorbed.
Right. There's no fans.
All of a sudden, I was a part of that group, so now I was the last man standing. Literally, because they were out of the building, and I'm walking slowly with my music.
Yeah.
And then I realized my life's at stake here.
So you were with him at the very beginning? There in Cleveland, first American tour ever in Cleveland. You're also with him at the very end.
I did his last tour, reality tour, and his last performance, just me and him and Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys. Wow. Mike Garson. We got to know Mike Garson, spoke with him, and he's still a musician in Los Angeles, and he still tours. And we actually approached him and sent him one of our songs, and he liked it. And so what you'll be hearing on this next song is Mike Garson's piano, okay? Because he contributed his piano part to Dennis Van Crash's song, Angel and Me.
Across the face and walked away with tears.